So, a very good afternoon. And On behalf of CII and CII's India at 100 Foundation, a big thank you and to all our esteemed speakers for joining us today and accepting our invite to be on this insightful webinar on India at 100 Women Powering the Future, organized by the India at 100 Foundation. As we celebrate International Women's Day, which is just around the corner, India at 100 Foundation is a CIA initiative that is working towards the vision of an inclusively developed nation by 2047, built by collaboration, propelled by the collective aspirations and actions of its people. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our moderator, our anchor for this session, Ms. Smita Agarwal, Director and Chief Financial Officer of PTC Industries Limited. As an introduction, Ms. Agarwal is a qualified chartered accountant with a background at PricewaterhouseCoopers. She plays a very key role at PTC, strengthening the finance and accounting functions of PTC Industries and also overseeing the company's HR function. She's also a founding member of ESOft Technologies Limited. Ms. Agarwal has many accolades to her credit, some of the more prestigious ones being the Women Achievers Award in 2017 and the Women Transforming India Award by Niti Aayog. She is an immediate past chairperson of CII's Uttar Pradesh State Council and has held several leadership roles, including national chairperson of CII's Young Indians or YI. Some of her initiatives have gained much recognition from the office of the Prime Minister of India. She also serves as the Advisory Council for the CII Center of Women Leadership. A very warm welcome to you, Smita, and a big warm welcome to all our panelists here today. We're also joined by our membership from across the country, some of them joining from different parts of the country as well. Thank you so much for your time, for your patience today, and I'd like to hand it over to Smita.
Thank you so much, Aparna. Thank you. And it's absolutely a pleasure to be here today. A very good afternoon to everybody and a very warm welcome to all of you for this insightful panel discussion on India at 100, Women Powering the Future. And I'm really thankful that this is being organized by the India at 100 Foundation, which is a CII initiative. And I think on behalf of all of our panelists here today, we are really thankful to CII for taking up this initiative. As we envision India in 2047, I don't think we can ignore the contributions that women will have and that these will be central to shaping this future that we envision for our country. Across industries, women are driving change. They're fostering innovation and breaking barriers like never before. Today's discussion will focus on the vital role of women in India's journey towards becoming a global powerhouse. And in this session, we are going to explore opportunities, challenges, and strategies for fostering greater gender inclusion, bringing more women into leadership positions, and also building equity across sectors. We are privileged to have an outstanding panel of speakers here who've not only excelled in their own fields, but they've also been champions of women empowerment and progress. And before we get into the discussion, I'm going to go and ask a general question, the same question that I'm going to ask to all of our panelists here today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce each panelist, the incredible journey that they've had, and then we're going to ask them for their perspective on the discussion that we are about to have today. So I'm going to start with Zarina. Zarina Screwvala is the co-founder of the Swadesh Foundation. And this works to alleviate poverty and empower rural communities. And she's also co-founded the media company UTV, which I think all of us know very well. And she's launched several TV channels, including Hangama, Bindas, and UTV Movies. And after UTV was divested to Walt Disney, she's moved full-time to philanthropy, building the Swadesh Foundation, which has reached more than 1 million lives in rural Maharashtra. So Zarina, very warm welcome to you. We are so privileged to have you on this discussion here today. And I'm going to start with the same question that we're going to ask to all the panelists, that as we see our country moving towards India at 100, what is your vision for us when in 2047? And what advice would you give to aspiring women professionals and entrepreneurs looking to shape its future? So if you can have your top three, perhaps that will be really great for us to have a start.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Smita, and thank you so much for having me here. Thank you to CII for doing this. So I have a dream, okay? And my wish for India at 100 is to establish a values-based society based on justice and the principle of justice and generosity, where communities are empowered to participate in their own change at local and national levels. And where we learn as Indians and really honestly, I think this is embedded in our culture to think of the community first and the individual second. It is part of our Indian culture. And I think if it can be nurtured and really revived, and we move away from this materialistic way of thinking only about ourselves, it's not a part of Indian culture. Community is a part of Indian culture. And if we can really cherish those values and bring them back and revive them, even if I don't know, at the risk of sounding idealistic, but if we all believe in it, I know we can make it happen. That we always think of the other before ourselves. A society that does that. And in the work in the villages that we do, Smita, we have seen this actually happen. So we know it's possible. And also, I dream of an India where extreme poverty is completely eliminated, because I genuinely believe it is, I know Gandhiji said it is a form of violence, and I totally agree. I have seen it. It is unjustified in today's world to have extreme poverty in any form, all right? And I also think we need to recognize that wealth comes in different forms, just as poverty comes in different forms. So wealth can be cultural wealth. It can be music and dance and richness. And a society does not have that kind of wealth can be considered poor. So I think we need to change our perspectives on what is wealth really mean, okay? And therefore, we have this idea that we developed and recognized in the Swadesh Foundation of, besides material poverty, whether you do water and you do sanitation, you health, education, livelihoods, but we try and really work on the aspect of removing mental poverty, which is a poverty which actually breaks my heart. And it is the lack of hope. It is the lack of even the possibility of having a dream for myself, for my family, for my community, okay? And coming to our discussion, the third point is, how does this relate? What can we do for women? And again, for me, it's really equality begins in the mind. And I think as women, the moment we genuinely start believing in our own equality, things will change. And also because women really, we have very special qualities to bring. Without demeaning men in any way, we don't need to think like men. We need to think like women. For example, to replace linear, unidimensional thinking with more holistic, multidimensional thinking, or to replace a competitive spirit with a collaborative, creative spirit, or to replace transactional approaches with transformational approaches. This is a very female way of viewing the world. It's not that men don't have it. It's not a competition, but it is a certain characteristic that we can bring to enrich the world, and we need to recognize that. And one last thing I'll say before I finish this question is that, as part of our learning journey for Swadesh, we traveled all over the place. And I really fell in love, actually, with Sir Faisal of BRAC in Bangladesh. And he told me that, I'll never forget, it was 12 years ago, that because women manage poverty, they can also manage wealth. And he also taught me that they spend their money in very different ways. So I think this is more or less my dream for India at 100.
Thank you so much, Zarina. I think that's a great start and such an optimistic note to say that you have this dream. And I think these are brilliant things that we can talk about and build from. And I'm really happy that you've started this discussion on this note. Thank you so much. And I'm now going to move on to Ranjini Mani, who's the director and country head of generative AI in India and South Asia for Microsoft. And in her current role as director AI at Microsoft, Ranjini actually leads a team of AI specialists as part of the global Black Belt team. She brings 2 decades of expertise in building AI product platform capabilities, applied data sciences, data products in enterprise product companies. Ranjini is also part of AI Makers 100, recognizing the top 100 AI and analytics leaders in India, and has received several industry awards, including Rising Women in AI Leadership, India AI 21 Women in AI, and Women in Big Data. Ranjini, I think it's a privilege to have you here, and especially for something which is a hotbed of discussions, a topic which is exciting for all of us. So welcome to this discussion, and I'm going to ask you the same question that I've asked Serena about your aspiration. What is your dream for us when India is 100, and what advice would you like to give aspiring women professionals and entrepreneurs who are also wanting to participate in shaping its future? Thank you.
Thanks, Smita. Real honor being here, quite an eclectic panel, and to talk about tech is a favorite topic, right? So first of all, for someone like each one of us, right, who grew up in a developing country, a key driver to where we are today is tech, right? I feel it is a democratizing force like none other. The thing is, we think linearly. Tech, though, grows exponentially. There was a prediction recently that anyone in 2035, right, like 10 years from now, will have the intellectual capacity, or which is equivalent to everyone in 2025, right? That means each one of us will have access to unlimited genius. And my dream is for each one of us in India to have the same access to abundant intelligence, right? Because intelligence is what's going to drive the world. It'll drive growth, it'll drive innovation, it'll drive equality. And how do we make that equal? That's something which I feel very passionate about. So the question when intelligence becomes abundant is how do you democratize it, especially for women, right? And 3 specific areas. One, access to resources and opportunities, right? Like from education to funding to mentorship to being able to contribute to the society. 2, leadership representation. I have a 9-year-old daughter, and my hope is one day she can grow up and say that she's a leader in tech and not necessarily a woman leader in tech, right? And most of all, for all of that to happen, inclusive and supportive environments. Because when we talk about broken ground, which is the break in women leaders getting into their first management position, that's a combination of factors, right? Like from family to your conducive environment at work. How do we nurture, foster, and give an inclusive environment? We stand on shoulder of giants, right? My mother was a working woman 3-4 decades ago, and I know they've done a lot to where we are today. And what can we do as a society, as a ecosystem to set our future up for success? That's something I feel very passionate about.
Thank you so much, Ranjini. And I think that's great. I mean, you've talked about democratization of the whole thing. And I think that's so important. And what technology does is it's a great leveler for all respect. Whatever we were not able to access, this is something that's absolutely possible now with technology at the doorstep of every woman. And your idea about an enabling society where we actually nurture the women around us, including the ones within our own family. I think that's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And now we're going to move on to Professor Dr. Apurva Palkar, who's the founding Vice Chancellor of the Maharashtra State Skills University. And Dr. Palkar, welcome. It's such a privilege to have you here today, especially speaking about such an important topic, which is skilling. And just to introduce her, she has over 28 years of academic experience in higher education and is known for institution building. She's a graduate in mathematics. She pursued post-graduation in business management and is an alumni of IIM Ahmedabad. She is the recipient of the prestigious Ravi J. Mathai Fellow Award and the Academic Leadership Award from Higher Education Forum. Recently, about 10,000 women have started for training in AI in Maharashtra, and she's also authored a book titled AI Unzipped. Dr. Palkar, what is your aspiration for India at 100 and your advice to women as they enter the professional workspace or entrepreneurship?
Thank you, Smita, for that nice introduction of me. And I think I am the Gen Next in this whole group that I can see here. And I sincerely feel that this is the time for all of us to get into accelerated action. This is the time that has come, and I think this is the theme which has been given even for the International Women's Day. And I feel that this is the most appropriate theme for all of us to start getting into an action which is in an accelerated mode. And I truly believe that it is not the goal of the diversity or the gender that we should think about. What we should really think about is the goal of economic development using women, which should be the bottom of our thought process. Strongly, I believe that the economic goal can be delivered by a country where we have 49% of the women, and I always say in all forums that only about 8 to 10% of the women are in the formal workforce, so to say. And if we really want to drive this big change in the society and deliver a goal of $30 trillion, which our Honorable Prime Minister is speaking of in 2047, then this all women have to accelerate it and get into the economic development, which the whole country is really looking at. And I feel that the bottom of the pyramid, what would be really essential is what I drive, is the ability of more number of women to come into education, more number of women to come into higher education. We need a lot of first-time learners to come from especially the rural areas. And of course, there are experts who are in the area of STEM, but I feel that STEM is the future for the country, and STEM is the future for a lot of women who should get into education. Having said this might take a long, but there are a lot of women today currently in the space who need a lot of reskilling. So the other aspects, so from the economic development to education, when I speak of education, not just the formal education, but also reskilling people and getting them back to work is a very, very significant part that I feel that as a society we need to look at, which also includes the digital literacy, which will empower the women to have a thought of their own. And third, a very important point that I want to drive here is that if we really think that we need to make a change in the society, in a system, which is driven by women leadership, it is most essential that a large number of women have to come into policy-making framework. Unless we have women coming into the policy-making framework, we don't see that change really coming up. And those numbers are really minuscule today. And I am not suggesting that the men will not make a change or drive change for us. But the way a woman can feel for another woman and bring in policy frameworks is where the change is really going to happen. And these are my aspirations for India from a women perspective. And these are the 3 points that I wanted to try.
Thank you so much, Dr. Palkar. I think that's great. And you've touched on some really, really important points there. And I love the thing that you said about accelerated action. I think that's something that's universal. It's not gender specific. It's something that as a country, if we want to drive growth, we want to achieve the 30 trillion, we want to realize our aspiration of being a global powerhouse. That's amazing. And then what you said about women in policymaking, I know Zarina also mentioned about women coming with a multi-dimensional approach. And I think if we bring more women as policymakers, I think we're going to benefit from that mindset and the way they think. So that's absolutely wonderful. Thank you. And we now have a really exciting person here who's a role model for many. We have Captain Indrani Singh, the founder and managing trustee of Literacy India. What's amazing about her is that she's a pioneering aviator, and she became the world's first woman commander on an Airbus 300 in 1995. And along with her 33-year aviation career, she's also founded Literacy India in 1996. She's a photographer, sustainable craft designer, social innovator, and she's created 3.1 lakh grassroots entrepreneurs through skill development programs. Recognized globally, she's been featured on the cover of California's Women Achievers magazine and honored with the Limca Book of Records. Power to Empower Award, the Lifetime Achievement Award by the International Congress of Women, and the Godfrey Philip Award for Bravery. Her journey truly exemplifies leadership, vision, and a lifelong commitment to transforming communities and empowering individuals to create lasting change. Thank you so much for being here today, Captain Indrani. Really privileged to have you, and to add to these discussions. I think we've started on a great note, and I'd love to hear from you what your thoughts about us in 2047 are, and your aspirations for the women. Captain Indrani, you're on mute. If you can just.
A lot of people call me doctor. Honored to be here amongst such trailblazers, women over here. So I'll come directly to the point since the timing is such. I had 3 things in mind, and I speak for most of the Indians. Is the clean road, clean air, and clean streets one day, and good roads, of course. I have traveled by road after I retired from aviation. I've traveled length and breadth of the country by road. And also I had driven some time back, same way, because I drive a lot. Roads have become better, but yet many roads they need. I mean, if I have to go to the village, some village, in fact, where my campus is, still the road's very bad. So I do wish from most of us Indians, clean roads, clean air, and good roads, you know. And the second thing which I had mentioned some time back also, women should be given all kinds of freedom to choose, which I had noticed my work in different villages. It's not still there. It's still not there. We still have a long way to go. And I do see by India at 100, the women will have to make their own choices. Way back when I started my career, I wanted to join the Air Force. Unfortunately, women pilots were not taken in the Air Force. And voila, now just recently, now women are there, hired in the Air Force, and they are fighter pilots. So I wish again, I'm born again and I become an Air Force pilot. But now I wish that by India, when India turns 100, many of our women will be space pilots. I want them to become space pilots. They could be coming from far off places, some remote area they wouldn't have imagined. They will be going to space. Our own country should be sending, not USA, no NASA. India, ISRO should do it. And ISRO has such fantastic women engineers. I mean, you should call them for your panel discussion. They are amazing. So that is my dream, actually. And the third and the final, I feel, for most of us, all of us, and we cannot walk at night on the road. It's still not safe for the women. We need safe roads. And I feel by 100, we will not have such violence against women. We will be a peaceful country. There will be respect for women, and women will be able to freely walk on the road, Indian roads, day and night, anywhere. This is in short, I feel, if we do. And I, in fact, resonate with every one of you, whatever you are saying. I think I should, wish for it, that all the wishes, whatever you all have wished for should come true by 100, when India turns 100. That's my wish final. Of course, it's the 4th one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Captain Indrani. And yes, we echo your sentiments. I think everything that has been said so far and what will be discussed in this panel, this is something that we really aspire for. And I think what's really important is that, and you mentioned this as well, if women are given the freedom to choose, if they can make those choices, if they can actually feel empowered and actually drive this entire change, then perhaps we are the ones who should be sitting in the driving seat and actually navigating our country to this aspiration of the India at 100 that we want. So, all the things that we're talking about, clean air, clean roads, safety, availability of nutrition, freedom to choose. These are things that I think all of us will take upon ourselves and be able to drive this and bring our country to this kind of a freedom at India at 100. So that will be amazing. Let me now introduce Priyanka. Priyanka is an amazing person, and we are really privileged to have her on the panel with us today. The Vice President, HR and Global Head of Talent Management at StarTech. She leads global talent management functions across 13 countries, 38 global locations, and 37,000 plus strong multicultural workforce. She's a seasoned HR professional and thought leader. She's been honored with multiple recognitions, including the Top HR Minds, Top HR Innovators, Asia's 100 Power Leaders in HR, and the Women Achievers Award. Beyond work, Priyanka channels her adventurous spirit into trekking, having recently conquered the Everest Base Camp in Nepal and Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, the world's tallest freestanding mountain. So again, really excited to have you with us here today, Priyanka. And you bring a completely different approach and focus. And we'd love to understand from you what your aspirations for us, for this country are when it turns 100, and how would you advise women professionals, entrepreneurs, and with your incredible experience both within the workplace and outside, what are your thoughts that you would like to share with us today?
Thank you so much, Smita, for the wonderful introduction. I think I will also echo with all the panelists. I strongly believe that India is already on the path of becoming a global powerhouse. So as we inch towards India at 100, by 2047, all I can envision is probably three things. The first two, yes, economically strong, technologically advanced, but I'm biased towards the third one, which is being socially inclusive. I think where every individual, agnostic of gender, has equal opportunities to thrive. I come from an organization where our gender ratio is 50:50 globally, and we've done a lot of work on this area. So my personal wish is that, as an outreach program everywhere, in every domain, agnostic of gender, each one of us should have equal opportunities to thrive. A nation where, women are not just participants, but I think they are pioneers in shaping the destiny of a nation. A nation where probably women are not just empowered, but they are equal stakeholders in every domain. So business, politics, technology, society, everywhere. And of course, from the corporate point of view, it's like saying, gender equality should not just be a goal. Rather, let's say in 2047, it should be a lived reality. A reality in leadership, a reality in pay, and a reality in opportunities. So be it, women's participation in corporate boards, be it implementing policies to support work-life integration, or be it strengthening financial literacy or digital literacy, or even having flexi work opportunities. Let us take all these steps to ensure that we as women, we are not just participants, we are actually pioneers. And simple advice, I won't say advice, but my 2 cents perhaps for young women leaders shaping India's future, as you asked, that leadership is not just about breaking barriers. I think leadership is paving the way for others to rise every time that we lead with confidence. So every time we lead with confidence, we probably inspire another woman to believe in her power. So I think that's what my 2 cents would be, Smita. Socially inclusive, and let's make everybody part of the community so that we thrive together.
Thank you, Priyanka, and I love what you said about leadership paving the way for others. And I think what we have today, this is such a great example of that we have this amazing, absolutely incredible panel here, each one of you being an example in your own self, and I think inspiring a lot of our audience and instilling the confidence in them that they can also walk the path and achieve their aspirations. I'm going to actually, this is a great place to start to ask the next question that I had, which I have for Zarina, which is to try and understand actually what her journey has been like, because she's navigated a lot of diverse sectors from media to philanthropy. And Zarina, if you can share with us what key experiences and lessons from your career have actually shaped what you're doing today, the immense amount of work you're doing in the Swadesh Foundation, and also how do they continue to guide your work even today?
So I want to go from being very optimistic to sharing with you my struggles. Though I come from a very wonderful family, have a wonderful husband who's incredibly supportive, it's still, I find, and I don't know what you all think, but it is still hard to be heard if you're a woman. And we need to learn not to take it personally. When you're in a boardroom or you're in a room full of men, for instance, we need to learn to we need to learn to be heard. So what does it really take? And I see Dr. Apurva perhaps not agreeing with me. I don't know. But, I've had these experiences and I want to share it because I don't want women to think it's only happening to them. I think very often it happens to all of us. We have an emotional side, and I think we have to learn to control it. And I think, though it's a very good thing to have, it doesn't work in every situation. This has been my learning. So we need to be calm. We need to be strong. We need to speak briefly and incisively. We need to be polite no matter what happens and never lose our temper. We cannot follow an aggressive path, is what I'm trying to say. That's one aspect. And I know it doesn't sound very, but when it happens to you, you should not think you're alone and you should not take it personally. The other thing is, what I have found in my community is really voices of hope. When we first go into the villages, we don't see the women, even in Maharashtra, which is so forward on women's counts, so positive in so many scores. But today, not only the women are empowered and proud, the men are more proud of the women. The men are more proud. For example, after we work in the community for some time, one of the things the community has to do is make their village beautiful. One of the villages, led by one man's suggestion, we have this community-driven change model. So you have a village development committee and they meet and they go and figure this out. What is the color that represents our village? And this particular village chose pink for Stree Shakti. And it was really led by the men. We want our women, we're proud of it, and it's amazing. Another community, even though the ownership is a big problem of the home, it is not in the women's name, but they all decided to put the women's name on the door in every household. There are multiple examples where empowered women have changed not only themselves, but the entire community. We have Swadesh Mitras who work in health. There was this lady, for example, who was a widow. She became a Swadesh Mitra. She identified TB through her training, and she had 6 TB patients in there. TB is a very difficult thing. It takes a very long time to give medicine every day and has a lot of side effects. She got rid of TB and she became the sarpanch of the panchayat. So there are multiple things that we can do to inspire us. But all I'm saying is just keep going, keep going. There will be ups and there will be downs. And I think resilience, joy. And the other thing is, you can't make any change alone. Take the help of everyone. Take your husband's help, take your parents' help, take your family's help. Don't think I have to do this alone. You won't succeed, So I think these are some of my learnings.
Thank you. And I agree with you absolutely there, Zarina. I think we need all the cheerleaders we can get, and we need every bit of support. And it's so wonderful when some of us are blessed with those, but even if we aren't, I think we always need to keep looking out for them and to make sure that our voice is heard, that whatever we are saying actually resonates with others. So that is such a great way to approach this. And I think it's just like you said, it's about not losing hope, about having that hope perpetually and knowing that this is going to make a huge change in the times that are coming. Ranjani, I think a similar sort of thing that I would love to know from you, because AI being it's something that I think all of us have only become really cognizant of in maybe just the last few years. Possibly it's been around for ages. And so what is it that actually got you into this area? What sort of challenges did you face I think even as a woman or otherwise, when you entered in this and to gain such excellence to rise up to such a leadership position, what was your journey like?
Yeah, thanks, Smita. See, even as I was listening to all the women out here, right? It just strikes me that how tech can be such a bubble in itself, right? We think in and around models, what's the latest happening? How do we kind of surpass one beyond the other? But then, like Captain Indrani Singh called out, right? I think there are issues which are way more fundamental, like around safety, for example. So having said that, maybe I want to talk about two things, right? Looking back, how do you plan for a career when you don't know what you want to do, right? And more importantly, maybe how do goals change over time? And why is it key to know yourself very well in terms of when you want to grow your career, right? I think, first of all, like most folks, I wouldn't say I grew up knowing that this is exactly what I want to do and this is the career I want to have today. I was a typical nerd at school. I wanted to do medicine. My parents, though they had other plans for me, so they cited safety. They said you should be in Bangalore. So they picked a engineering college in the same city. And it didn't strike me that I could challenge them, right? So I did accept what they asked me to do. So I started in a technical role in a product company, and I very quickly realized that I asked why questions. Why are we doing what we're doing? Whereas my role expected me to do the how, right? Execute against what was asked. So then I thought, okay, maybe I should do an MBA. Maybe that'll allow me to switch to product management to get closer to answering the why, right? And I feel like career, and this is retrospectively, everything is clear, right? So it's like this car in a storm, right? You can probably see 5-7 feet at a time. And in hindsight, I think when we look at that, like draw that analogy to the career, I think what we should and could focus on is immediately what's ahead of us, right? And for me, all of my initial years, I think growth has happened by serendipity. I ended up being with leaders and at firms they didn't really discern my capability based on my gender, right? I am who I am, not necessarily because I'm a woman, because I probably put in the work to kind of get here, right? So at a later stage in my career, though, maybe the last 5-10 years, I have made more intentional choices, right? To prioritize for roles that has helped me put in environments where I could grow and work with leaders where I could learn from. So my first point is wherever you choose, right? Choose for higher density of learning and in putting yourself in an environment, which is a rocket ship, and aligned to values, right? Because I feel like the lesser the cognitive dissonance between what you naturally love doing and your work environment, the happier you are. I think that's my point one. Point two is, I think, how goals change over time. I think especially anyone in tech would probably relate to this, right? When you start off coming from a middle-class childhood, my goal was financial independence. And then it's quickly changed to how do I get promoted quickly across the ranks, right? It became charter, the size of the teams that I could lead, global teams as I grew, right? And I think over time, it's closer to freedom of choice, to be able to wake up and say, I love what I'm doing today. Will I continue to do what I'm doing, even if I don't get paid? And most recently, maybe working towards what I think is my core mission, which is towards enabling myself and others around me to live to their potential. So I think that's the second thing I want to leave folks with, right? Reflect on who you are. Why is it that you do what you do? Because I think most of all, I truly believe this, right? Irrespective of your gender, I think the goal for each of us is to be authentic to who you are, right? Not do things because I'm a woman or a man, but I'm truly authentic to who I am. I think that's the goal.
Thank you, Ranjini. I think really appreciate that. I think I hope there's a recording that's happening because we really want to, listen to these things again and again. And I think just hearing what you said, it resonates with, I think, each one of us so much because I'm sure I can speak for the panel here. A lot of the women that we have here are doing things that really, really are very close to their value systems, and they make them happy. They make them actually feel that they're doing something which is very important for them, and that is possibly the key to also growing in that field and to actually becoming leaders in those. So again, a great perspective there. And on the same note, it's really interesting now to switch to something which is based on skills and the work that Dr. Apurva has been doing. And she, Dr. Apurva, I want to ask you what sort of partnership model do you think can actually exist as a game changer so that we have more and more women participating in the workforce when India reaches 100 years of independence?
Before I go to the question, I will just quickly respond to Zarina that I completely resonate to what you said, because that's something very close to my heart, which I will speak in the later part of this discussion today itself. So one of the models that I have experimented, and I feel that this is an experiment that should go further with a lot of companies, and that is a model that we experimented with the Persistent System. It's a Pune-based company, and the program name was Wings. And in this particular program, we looked out for women who had taken a break of 2 to 5 years. And typically, I am sure Ranjini will agree to with me on the fact that technology changes every day. And in 5 years, the women start feeling they don't know much. They lose confidence. It is not about the intelligence and the ability to go back to work, but it is also a kind of a feeling within the heart that I cannot go back to work. And this is what we experienced, and we called for applications, and there were more than 750 applications that we received. And it was like an HR exercise, which was done in partnership with Persistent System, where the interviews were done. And to my surprise, this was a 6-month small program that we ran for them. And it is expected that at the end of the program, we'll start working for Persistent System. Not a day where we had to even look for anyone coming for the class. They were so excited to come to the class. And all of them have joined work. And I think this is what multiple companies in India should look at. And this is a model where academia can handhold, universities like us can come forward, probably look at the certification space, the diploma space, or a degree space, whatever, and try and bring back more number of people back into the workforce. And it's an experiment which I did, and I feel that this was highly appreciated, and this is what is the future for the country, for a lot of people who give up work in for certain reasons beyond their control, the family reasons, or for kids when they grow up, and so on and so forth. Second important point that I wanted to drive here was the aspiration of women. A model is required to build aspiration for women. I did a small survey of 10,000 women in and around Pune, and there were just 10 talukas. And to my surprise, I found the aspiration level of women. Most of them wanted to come back to work, wanted to do something, a small entrepreneurial journey that they wanted to get into, but they had no exposure what they could really get into. So we really need to have models which will aspire them to understand what is it that they can really do. And this is a model that has a lot of future for commoners. And a third model, which is for the intellect, which I feel, which is something that is experiment as my new university we are doing. And that's how do we look at a circular economy? So where we have Veena Sahajwala, she's a metallurgist and a scientist from UNSW Australia, spent 17 years to work on green steel. So she's brought in a technology. So a newer kind of a technology that can be brought, where we could look at, developing a product and, kind of skilling people in that, and then the products coming out of it and taking the product out to the market. So the complete value chain where we develop employment opportunities for multiple set of people in the newer areas. So there could be innovators, there could be researchers who could engage with this initiative. Some very mediocre people who can get into the skilling part, which is production, and the third part would be the business. So this could also be a model which would lead to the economic development in the newer areas where we're talking of Make in India. So I think this strongly is a model which requires a lot of attention. And the third, of course, is a model where we could look at not everybody in India can go overseas and study. So there are also models with the new education policy where my university also explored this with somebody in the School of Design in France, which is best in the world. So look at partners somewhere who are best in the world and can we really partner with them and give them the best which is there in other part of the world in India itself. So this is a kind of a third model. So all the models that we have thought of, or I keep thinking in my university, are the models where we try and drive women into an area where the thought process and aspiration is how do I be on my own, and if there is a career break, how do I get back to work? So if these two things are addressed properly in the life of a girl when she is really young, probably she will be able to take the right kind of decisions. And the world is looking at India, and I think this is what we could really do. And I'm not sure whether we'll have sufficient time, but the last point that I wanted to make here is that I am looking at 10,000 girls getting build a model where I'm saying that AI is here and AI is here to stay. And as Smita pointed out yesterday, this book has come, which is AI Unsaid. It's a very common book. It's not for a very technologically savvy person. It's for a commoner to understand how one could use AI. So if we can get a large number of women and educate them on basics of AI and let them understand this, and thanks to Microsoft, I'm doing this training for a lot of women. And this is also for non-technical girls that we are doing this. So I think this is how we need to bring in a change. And these are the models that India requires.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Apurva. I think some really important points there. And I think definitely both the things that you talked about, being able to retain women in the workforce and then being able to create platforms or different experiences for them where they are able to actually sort of be more ingrained in the workforce, actually be contributing more positively. Really, really wonderful to hear that. Captain Indrani, I think you have been a person who's really broken barriers, who's really rewritten some of the normal traditional norms that we've thought about for women. And typically we know that a lot of women are, generally seem to be oriented towards things which are more aligned with the characteristics that we stereotypically associate with women, which are more caregiving kind of responsibilities. But you've been the first woman commander on an Airbus 300, and that too in 1995. What has been your inspiration to take up this unconventional path? And also do tell us, what were your biggest challenges that you faced?
In my growing up years, actually my mother, she's a Bengali. And dad is Rajput, Bundeli Rajput. And they have this, I mean, I've grown up in a very diverse background. Here, there are Bengalis, and from father's side, the Rajasthani culture. I grew up a little confused also. And the best part was both headstrong parents I have, they're both very, very fiercely independent. And both did not come from well-off family. Mother's mother, my granny, very, very strong lady. Husband left her when she was carrying my mother. So I just wonder how she managed, my grandmother, how did she manage? And she had seen that Hindu Muslim rights also, and she was alone. And I'd heard those stories, you see. And it came down to my mother, very independent. She wanted to be an entrepreneur, and she hardly studied. In fact, in a Bengali medium, the kind of education she got, and still she did something about herself, and she had the entrepreneurial spirit, in fact, in her, which I think naturally came into me, seeing her, very, very aggressive. Father came from a background which was a little conservative, but at the same time, he respected women a lot. His side, they believed in dowry system and all that. And he's the guy who stood up and fought with relatives that what the hell you people are doing. you know. So these, whatever it is, they did not tell me anything except my father said, you have to be a hero. Everybody was, my dad was fond of films, and it came down to us. Not a single movie of Amitabh Bachchan we will miss out. And films worked, you know, quite a things. I mean, we children and my dad would be inspired that what does the hero does, you know, fights, what kind of, you have to be resilient, you fight everything. So I had a very natural and very, not very, you know, would say that my parents were that educated. Yeah, they were very simple life. And I never felt that I, being a girl, will have problems till I joined flying. That's the time. And people told to my face, why do you have to come for flying? Because you're not going to get chosen, and go and get married and all that. So I was wondering why the hell I was told this. I didn't even imagine it also, that such is the case for the girls, because I have not been brought up like that. Parents are very loving and equally treated, like my brothers and me, equally treated. So slowly, steadily, I started seeing that this is how it is, that in this world, they are not expecting women to command the aircraft. And Durga Banerjee tried, and maybe she was shot down, I don't know, for not coming in for command. And she should have been the first one, but whatever it is, luck. And after becoming a commander also, I am a very sirfira. I'm not very, I speak my mind, and I'm very, very cut and dried and very straight. My team also sometimes get flustered with what I say. So this has been my general routine, but I have mellowed down when I had seen young girls and women in the villages, because I've been very fortunate with the exposure, flying anywhere. And the first thing for me was to go and visit India in the remote and interiors. First, it was adventure. Then I turned to photography, and then I found people. And I thought, like, what am I doing? I've become a commander, but what next? Is it the end of the road? What am I supposed to do? And that's the time, I think, God says, you pray, it comes true some way or the other. And it has, and it's been a long journey, and so many things have happened. So I've become a craftsperson. I do crafting. I've become heavy in technology because I've been in the profession, whereas technology plays a very big part. So technology, right from the year 1996, most of my centers, I have almost like 50, 60 centers. Most of my centers are tech savvy, women, girls, children, all, and digital literacy, our own innovation. In 2009, when I was working with the street children, we decided that we should get into a kind of a thing which is every nonprofit organization is struggling with, how to improve the foundational literacy of the children. I mean, the primary schools thing sucks really bad. It is. So 2009 created Gyan Tantra, and since then, it's still a drop in the ocean, but 3.5 lakh students have gone through that course. And it's still gaining momentum, and still many government schools and still our own centers. Gyan Tantra has become a soul. So even anybody who's listening to this webinar can reach out to me for this Gyan Tantra program. I'd like to share with as many people possible. It's a 500 hours of course program, and in Hindi and English. So in English, we had done it because we are running it in Hyderabad and in Chennai, but whole of North, all the way to Maharashtra also, we are running this program. But besides that, of course, Women Empowerment Program, because my teachers are all ladies and working with them, and I have come a long way. It's been 30 years. We have come up with the question of what education is all about. We are redefining education in every way possible, and which is not actually taught in school. What I have become, what I was, I feel this Literacy India and the Indha program has actually taught me a lot. And I'm still learning, actually. So in short, it is. And in the social sector, I've been shot down because she's a pilot and it's a hobby for her that she's in the social sector. Or I'm becoming a politician, something of that sort. So this is what my challenge was. But I shot it down because I don't care at all. I don't see any kind of even giving any kind of an importance to it also. I don't care. So I'm just focused on what I'm doing right now, because focus is all about being in the profession of flying. Focus is everything. So it's been quite a heartening journey for me up till now, and I don't know how long I will carry on. So that's how it is.
No, I'm sure you will carry on and you will be an inspiration for all of us. I love what you said about the conviction, the sort of belief that you had in yourself, because it came from the background of your family and what you had seen, and this idea of actually, I think all of us feel that we are the central character in our own lives. So just the Amitabh Bachchan of your life, and then you've actually made it happen, and hopefully that's going to be something that a lot of us will look to emulate as well. I'm going to now ask Priyanka, because she's also got a remarkable achievement that many of us, I think, would find it extremely challenging, is that she's actually reached Everest Base Camp, which is possibly an achievement that demands so much of resilience, endurance, and also a tremendous amount of strength of spirit. Qualities, Priyanka, I think that really are important for strong leadership as well, especially when we are talking so much about having more women in leadership positions. What has been your understanding of the major influences that have been instrumental in this journey of yours, both in your workplace and also externally in the achievements that you've had?
Absolutely, Smita. In fact, from a complete non-trekker to scaling Mount Everest base camp in Nepal at 17,500 feet, and again summiting Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the world's highest freestanding mountain. I think these two, it was like a game changer in my life, both personal and professional. Navigating through the mountains at sub-zero temperatures, which means ranging from -7 to -29 degrees centigrade. The air was very thin. It was just 50% oxygen. Sleeping in ice-cold tents during those time, rocky trails, steep ascents, unpredictable weather, and of course, battling altitude challenges. So a lot of people asked me why, what kept you going? When Kilimanjaro, it's the highest peak of Africa. And there, when you reach, that tallest peak is called Uhuru Peak. So that point is called Uhuru Peak. Uhuru in Swahili is their local language. That is called freedom. And that's exactly what my motivation was, breaking barriers today in corporate world or in, personal life. It's about women breaking barriers. So for me, that sense of freedom, when I reached there, I just kind of resonated it with, breaking barriers in workplace and in society. Both reaching Everest Base Camp and Mount Kilimanjaro, those were transformative experiences, that reinforced my belief in the power of pushing boundaries. So, these qualities are absolutely essential for women who are breaking barriers both in workplace and in the society. So pushing boundaries was definitely one thing. And one key lesson that I learned in this journey was the importance of a strong support system. On the trek, having the right kind of team, the right guidance, support, and encouragement. And I think that decides whether you will be successful or you will fail. Similarly, if I relate it to women in leadership, organizations must provide mentorship, must provide sponsorships and inclusive policies to help women leaders thrive. I think that's what another takeaway was for me. And another one was, of course, challenging the self-doubt. Today, there were moments during the expedition when I was full of doubt. I questioned myself, whether will I be able to? And at that point, I just kept moving forward. I just pushed, that moment, I moved forward with confidence. I think that's what, even today, women in organizations, sometimes they face imposter syndrome, sometimes societal expectations. I think whenever such moments come, all that we need to do is probably let go at that point in time and move forward. Just push that, move forward, and I think the rest will follow. So breaking barriers, whether it's in the mountains or it's in the boardroom, I think it's all about the willingness to challenge the status quo. So when women are given equal opportunities and of course the right environment to grow, I think they can reach incredible heights. So if it's mountain or boardroom, doesn't matter.
That's absolutely the perfect analogy, because I think a lot of the things that you've talked about, even though they were in the context of you climbing these peaks, I think they're so relevant to each of us and to many women in their own day-to-day lives. And these are the characteristics I think that we must imbibe and we must have in ourselves. What I'm going to actually do is, we've got a question for Ranjini from a member of the audience. And Ranjini, if you're okay to take this question first, we're going to try and do that. We have a question from Mr. Deepak Dubey. I'm just going to scroll across to see. Yeah, so Ranjini, of course, he's been very appreciative of the things that you've talked about, your perspective on AI supporting really vital areas: hope, freedom, leadership, policy, and equality. But he's also asking you how AI in marketing can be leveraged to fast track efforts in driving transformational leadership, enhancing brand trust, influencing policy changes, and promoting equal opportunities. I think this is an omnibus of a question, but I am sure you'll be able to do justice to it. Also, while ensuring ethical and impactful engagement.
Yeah. Probably, I know it's a loaded question. I'll just answer it in 3 parts, right? See, first of all, one, any sector, marketing, customer service, any sector which you think about it, right? I think the key part which is changing is how AI, specifically generative AI, brings in personalization, contextualization. So where it is for each individual, meeting them where they are, which is the huge transformative effect which is happening, right? And I've shared some resources on chat in terms of more specific areas within like personalization with conversational AI. The voice is a huge, huge pattern in India, for example, right? So think about all the use cases which can unblock around inbound, outbound customer use cases, things like that. So that's one. The second thing, I think there was questions around how does it help us with things like transformation, hope. I think, see, one thing I'm personally very passionate about is how AI can be a tool for good, right? Like AI for good is a huge space. I know that probably we don't do enough, and that's a niche space still. But I truly believe, like, think about all of these issues we've been talking about, from fundamental areas around safety, traffic, empowerment, education. All of these have such immense potential. I'll give you a scenario. I was talking to the startup. I had a very high risk pregnancy, right? And the sheer fact that I had all of the medical support around me, I had my family around me, was the only deal breaker which makes me sit here today in front of you, right? It is a miracle that me and my kid made it out okay. But think about the thousands and thousands of women out there in rural areas, right, who do not even have access to fundamental medical care. Forget about high-tech medical support, right? And being able to know about what's happening in the system, like forget about even solving for it, awareness that this is something I need to take care of, that in itself is transformational. And that is what AI can bring to their doorstep, right? Like from farmers to cultivation to agriculture to, these are like grassroots level movement, right? So I truly believe like ethical AI, AI for good, responsible AI, can bring in all of these changes. We talk a lot about like challenges, yes, with any technology, much like any other technology, right? There's going to be a hype around it. There is going to be elements which are going to be malicious. But I think the core part for us to remember is AI is what we can make of it, right? And I truly believe that I'm a technophile in the sense I do believe that AI can be used for good. So that's, I'm going to wrap it up with that. So definitely.
Ranjini, how about emotional part? EQ. Will it damage the EQ or promote the EQ? Just a question.
I think it's an interesting point. One of the common questions I get is, okay, how does it impact like the human in the loop, right? Like
Human emotion.
The emotions that we bring in. I think there are things which are uniquely human, which will and should continue to be there in the loop, right? My daughter uses Copilot a lot to learn, do. Now, does it mean that she kind of replaces what she's doing with the Copilot? I think the difference is whether you're using it to augment or replace. And I truly believe that AI, when used to augment, you're extending your intelligence, you're extending what you can do. And to your point, Captain Indrani, right? Humans bring in unique traits like critical thinking, emotional intelligence, right? Like these are very uniquely human traits. And that's what is going to differentiate. And I think what I was talking about earlier, in a world where abundant intelligence is abundant, human agency, being able to take ownership, figure out things, read the room, having that EQ and figuring out what to do next, that's what's unique. That's what differentiates, right? Like I can tell you 99% of the time, it's not the model due to which projects fail. It's because of all of the scaffolding, why they fail, right? So to your point, Captain, I think that is an area which will uniquely differentiate what succeeds versus what doesn't, right?
But
And
won't we become too lonely? All of us actually being dependent on, let's say, Copilot or ChatGPT, and we are just interacting with that AI tool. Won't we become very lonely and not interact socially with other humans?
yeah, I hear you, and maybe we should, I can talk more about it. But here's the thing, right? We tend to think about change in ASCII, which is like, oh, either it is not there or it happens, like 0, 1. Change is in gray, right? It's in shades of gray. So that's why I called out that, how do you augment, how do you work along with AI? I truly believe in the value of the human in the loop, right? I also truly believe that when tech used for good can help us 10x what we do, emotionally, physically, and otherwise, right? So especially in a country which is as cost sensitive as ours. Yeah.
But whatever it is, grassroots skills are today's.
Yeah. Sorry, Captain. I would actually just add to that and say that, all of us are sitting here and using technology to actually have this session while being, probably miles away from each other. But I think what also is another aspect of this is that it gives us an aspiration to actually do this next time in a room together and really bring in that human element also. So I think there are both sides to the technology. I mean, it's enabling us right now to be able to do this and actually convey this message to a number of people, but it also creates an aspiration, which is the human element, and for us to actually be together face to face and actually feel that through human contact and some of the things that humans need. So I think what we would understand is possibly there are both sides to AI. If you can use it for good, there's lots to do, but it used ineffectively or badly, anything can be very, very detrimental.
In our country, we require grassroots skills. Without that, we cannot survive.
Absolutely, completely agree.
Without grassroots skills, we cannot survive. No chance. Yeah, we can be, value addition with the help of technology, but without my plumber or electrician, nothing can happen. I mean, we cannot survive.
Totally. I think what I'm going to do now, in the interest of time, because we've overshot by about 7 minutes, is that we're going to give you about 30 seconds because this has been an incredible session. But one of my key takeaways from this session is that 1 hour is not enough, especially in a room full of women who are so accomplished and have so much to offer, such as all of you. But we're going to try and close this with, we give you 30 seconds to just give us a message, something that you want the audience to leave with in their minds, and then hopefully we get more opportunities to bring all of you in a room again together and discuss more on this. So Ranjini, I'm going to start with you. What is your let's say parting message to all of our audience here today?
Yeah, I'll keep it crisp, right? See, I think for women to be empowered to do their potential, irrespective of where they are, whether they work in tech or otherwise, right? I think 2 things need to come together. We can and we could. Can we do something and could we do something? And there's a slight difference between both, right? We can is very internal. It is what motivates us to do what we're doing. It is self-confidence, self-belief, having the advocacy to kind of get to our goals. We could is external, right? Do we have an environment which is nurturing to allow us to be you? Do we have an ecosystem that allows women to be confident, explore new avenues, doesn't cut us down and allow us to try, fail, and not be judged for overreaching? I think we need to aspire for both. First one is more in our control. Second one is something we need to aspire to go closer to. So we can and we could, right? With I think those 2 together will help each one of us achieve our potential.
Great. We can and we could, and I'm sure we will, and we would. So definitely, that sounds really nice. Priyanka, I'm going to ask you to share your 30 seconds of what you would like to leave the audience with.
I think I'll just repeat that, all of us, as you said, Smita, we all need to own our journey as women. We need to trust the process. We need to push boundaries, and we just need to chase our dreams fearlessly. It's like the 212-degree philosophy, where that 1 degree extra effort in life and work will make all the difference. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Thank you, Priyanka. Captain Indrani, what would you like to leave everyone with? Sorry, you're on mute.
I would say dream, must have some dreams, and then do something to achieve those dreams. And then again, when you become something, give back, and then again repeat. So basically, life with a purpose. Whatever is your goal, keep evolving and keep doing better and better. Just don't stop. Just don't stop.
Dream, achieve, and then give back, and then repeat. Thank you. That's wonderful. Dr. Apurva, what would be your message to all the audience who are listening here today?
A quick 30-seconder is that for all the women who are listening and who are part of this whole ecosystem, I would say that the floodgates are opening. The world is looking at us. It's time for us to move out of our cocoons, all of us, and get out of our comfort zone and try to achieve the sky. And this is the right time for all of us, and we've all arrived. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Doctor. And Zarina, we've come a full circle back to you. We started with your first phrase, which was that you have a dream. And I think this session has been all about the kind of dreams that each one of us have and how much we could progress and how much we could achieve as we move forward in the pursuit of these dreams. So what would be your 30 seconds of advice or takeaways for our audience today?
I just think it's believe in yourself and help, as I think Captain Indrani said, also allow girls, and I'm a little bit obsessed with rural India. So I want to say that when we first started our scholarships, the very first young girl I interviewed, her father is a farmer. And I said, what do you want to do, dear? This is a proper graduate scholarship. She said, I want to be a CS. And I just looked at her. There was nobody in her village who was a CS. I don't know where she got it from. And she became a CS in her first try. I mean, people in our privileged backgrounds take three shots at becoming a company secretary. This girl did it in the first shot. Today, we have children who are becoming architects, who are working in aerospace. It's incredible in this 10 years to see, but she was the first. She was the one who taught us to dream and to raise our aspirations and not to hold back your dreams. I really also love what Priyanka said, just dream, believe in it. And not only that, you're not going to be a victim of climate. You're going to become a climate warrior. You're becoming not just a digitally savvy girl, but you can become a digital CEO. So we see one thing you need to teach people to dream, but it's very important to also provide the pathways to those dreams.
Thank you. Thank you, Zarina. And this has been an absolutely incredible session. I think we are actually left asking for more. There is so much more to learn, to explore, and to talk about. But I think, sadly, we will have to close this as of now. But we look forward to these opportunities again in the future. I really want to extend our heartfelt thanks to all the panelists who've been here today. Thank you for sparing us your time, being so generous with your sharing your experiences, your thoughts, and your advice. The perspectives that you've given have been really invaluable, and I think we're looking forward to many more aspiring women leaders in the future. And as we move forward towards India at 100, I think all of us agree that empowering women is not just a goal, it's actually going to be the foundation of the success and the achievements that we want to have. So let's continue with this conversation beyond today. I think I would like to request the audience also that you must go back, you must become ambassadors of what you've learned here today or what we've spoken about, and help us to spread the word, to build a future that is inclusive, progressive, and it's also driven by the power of women. Thank you to all our wonderful audience, and thank you again to all our wonderful, wonderful panelists for being here today. We look forward to engaging with you in the future and wishing all of you a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Smita. Thank you, Zarina, Dr. Apurva.
Thank you. It was
Bye.
wonderful listening to all of you.
Nandini.
And thank you, Smita. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.